Today, we're going to talk about one of the most iconic amusement park rides in the world. And you might think you know the story, but this isn't just about a fun ride. Nope. This is a story about incredible ambition, pure genius, and a white-hot rivalry with what was, at the time, the tallest structure on the entire planet. So let's just dive right in. The central question is this: how do you build a rival to the Eiffel Tower? I mean, seriously, put yourself in that time. Paris has just unveiled this incredible iron lattice tower, and the whole world is just jaws on the floor. So for everyone else, especially in America, the question was, what could we possibly do to top that? All right, so the scene is Chicago, 1893. The city is hosting the World's Columbian Exposition, the World's Fair, and the pressure is on, big time. This was about national pride. Chicago needed a centerpiece, something spectacular that wouldn't just be as good as the Eiffel Tower, but would make people forget all about it. And the guy feeling that pressure more than anyone was Daniel Burnham. He was the lead architect for the whole fair, so he basically put out a challenge to all of America's best engineers and architects. He said, "Bring me something original, daring, and unique." He wasn't looking for another tower, he was looking for a knockout punch. A lot of ideas got thrown around, but nothing really had that wow factor that Burnham was looking for. The idea that would ultimately change city skylines forever, well, it came from just one man. And here he is, George Washington Gale Ferris Jr. What a name, right? He was a 33-year-old engineer from Illinois who specialized in bridges and steel. And his idea was, well, it was completely out of left field. The story goes that he sketched out his first draft on a napkin in a restaurant. His vision wasn't some static monument you just stare at. No, this thing moved. He imagined this huge revolving wheel that would literally lift people up into the sky, giving them a view of the world that nobody had ever experienced before. But when Ferris pitched this idea to Daniel Burnham, Burnham hated it. He shot it down immediately. He looked at the design and saw a fragile, dangerous death trap. But Ferris, he saw something totally different. He saw a precisely engineered machine that could safely give thousands of people the view of a lifetime. But George Ferris was not the kind of guy who took no for an answer. After Burnham rejected him, he didn't just walk away. Oh no, he went out on his own and found his own investors, people who actually got what he was trying to do. He put together safety reports, engineering specs, and eventually, he got the funding himself. He was going to build this thing, with or without the fair's blessing. And get this, the amount of money he had to raise was $400,000. To put that in perspective, that's over $10 million in today's money. A staggering amount for an idea that was completely unproven and, let's be real, sounded pretty terrifying to most people. Actually building it was just a mind-blowing feat of engineering. They laid these enormous foundations deep in the ground, then put up 2 steel towers, each one about 15 stories high. And then came the really tricky part. They had to hoist a 45-ton axle, the single largest piece of forged steel in the entire world at that time, up between them. Just incredible. And then, after months and months of relentless work, against all odds, and after proving every single skeptic wrong, it was finished. The Great Chicago Wheel, or as we all call it today, the very first Ferris wheel. Okay, so let's just run through some of the numbers here because they are absolutely wild. The wheel stood 264 feet tall. For people in 1893, this was like touching the sky. It towered over everything else at the fair. And this wasn't just some little bucket you sat in. It had 36 passenger cars, and each one was about the size of a modern-day bus, complete with fancy seats and big windows. This thing was built for comfort and, more importantly, to look and feel incredibly safe. The capacity was just insane. The wheel could carry over 2,000 people at the exact same time. Think about that. That's like lifting an entire small village up into the air. And was it a success? Oh yeah. In just the 19 weeks that the fair was open, more than 1 million people paid to take a ride. It wasn't just an attraction, it was a global phenomenon. You can just imagine the scene on opening day. It was a moment of absolute triumph for Ferris. The very first passengers were George and his wife, Margaret. The mayor of Chicago was there. They even had a 40-piece band playing as this massive steel structure began its first official turn. It must have felt like victory. So the wheel was a smashing success, a huge moneymaker that put Chicago on the map and proved it could hang with Paris. But this is where the story takes a really tragic turn. The invention made a fortune. The inventor? He didn't see a penny of it. I mean, just look at the financials. It's heartbreaking. The wheel brought in over $726,000 in revenue, making the company a profit of almost $400,000. And George Ferris, the man whose brain and sheer will made it all happen, he lost every cent he had in nasty legal battles with the fair organizers over who was entitled to the profits. It's just a brutal end to the story. In 1893, his creation is the talk of the world. Just a short while later, he's completely bogged down in lawsuits. And by 1896, only 3 years after his greatest triumph, George Ferris was dead, bankrupt and all alone, at the age of 37. But here's the incredible part. Even though the story of the man himself ended in tragedy, his invention, his idea, well, that was just getting started. It took on a life of its own. Pretty soon, Ferris wheels started popping up at fairs and amusement parks all over the world. And that original 264-foot wheel? That was just the beginning. Today, you have giants like the High Roller in Las Vegas, which stands at an incredible 550 feet. That's more than double the size of the original. His idea didn't just last, it grew to a scale he probably couldn't have even imagined. So in the end, the Ferris wheel became so much more than just a ride. It's really this powerful symbol, isn't it? A symbol of hope, of imagination, and of that burning ambition to create something the world has never, ever seen before, even when everyone tells you it can't be done. And that kind of leaves you with one big question. George Ferris's world-changing idea was first rejected as being flimsy and dangerous. It really makes you wonder, what incredible revolutionary ideas are being dismissed right now, today, just waiting for someone with enough grit to prove everybody wrong?